Why is it that you can't be religious and understand science at the same time? Why do you think they're mutually exclusive?
What does evolution have to do with science, though?
What does it have to do with science? Well, I'll let you answer your own question. I will treat you as a father does a son who's inquisitive. Have you ever examined the wing of a bird from the point of view of its bones, the number of bones in a bird's wing?
So you're talking about comparative bone structure?
Yes. Have you? So in other words, you have done comparative anatomy, apparently, yes?
Yes, but that proves a common designer. In order for evolution to work, there has to be...
Sir, wait a minute. A common designer. Yes, of course there's a common designer called God. So now that we both agree that there is one true God, but you apparently can't accept that there's scientific evidence for evolution because it conflicts somehow with your childish fantasy of Adam and Eve, can't you accept the fact that perhaps, just perhaps, this common designer started with models and none of them suited him, and he kept discarding them until he evolved in his design to man, and then that's where history and evolution and the Bible begins, when man himself arose? Is that possible?
First time.
Excuse me?
Have cosmic evolution, which is the origin of...
Wait, no, you're not answering my question. You're giving me a brainwashed answer. What you must try to do is use your reasoning faculties to show us that you're actually a member of Homo sapiens. I mean, the distinction between us and lower animals is our big brain. Do we agree on that? So why don't you try to use it for a moment? Why must you continue to go back to the primitive doxy of the ignorant churchgoer?
Okay, you're not even listening to my argument, so...
Now, how can I listen to your non-argument? You're not giving me an argument. You're giving me a brainwashed set of statements that have no relationship to what is known by science. Why must you reject science to accept God? I can see both living together. I can accept the two together. Why must you reject science to accept God?
Because real science proves evolution false. Look at
what real science? Taught by which preacher? Which unwashed trailer park preacher teaches you that crap?
Okay, there's a lot of people who teach science that goes against the evolution theory.
You know, this is so stupid. I'm embarrassed to even have this discussion. I am a God-fearing, God-believing man who's a trained scientist. I do not see a conflict between the theory of evolution and the belief in God, and I've just given you the reason why. Why must you have an either-or childish view of the world in order to get up every day? I guess you can't live with conflict. Thanks for the call. I will be right back.
Savage.
It is the Savage Nation. So now we're going to get the anti-evolution callers. We're going to go back to the Scopes monkey trial here on the Savage Nation. I'm not willing to do it. I am simply not going to be dragged back to the level of pre-scientific literacy in order to placate some of my listeners. You know, let's just go away, friends, and leave me alone on this one, because you're exhibiting the classic ignorance of uneducated people, and I don't understand why you continue to do it. I have told you over and over again that Einstein himself believed in God. What more do you need to know? Why must you continue to try to impose your religious doxies on people of science? You don't have to throw away all of science to believe in God. In fact, the opposite is true. The more you study the miraculous nature of matter, the more you understand the miraculous nature of the universe, the more you should be awed by the fact that man did not create the universe and man did not create himself, and therefore there must be a higher power, i.e. God. And that should be sufficient for you. But why must you now go retro on your own mentality and say, well, therefore we don't need science at all? Well, where do you want to end up with this? In a burqa? A psychic burqa? It's bad enough the Muslims are trying to muzzle us with burqas. You're trying to now muzzle us with ignorance. To me, it's the same thing. We seem to be slipping back in time, not forward. And I want to go forward, not backwards, to be honest with you. So we got all of the phenomenons now. Here we go. No evolution. No evolution. There's no evolution. No evolution. No evolution. I would dare say that if you picked up a bird, the skeleton of a bird, and then looked at the skeleton of a pig and the skeleton of a man and the skeleton of a monkey and the skeleton of a dog, it might be quite edifying for you, particularly the wonderment that you will experience when you hold up the bones of a bird and you realize that they are perforated and that God, the great designer, designed the bird's bones to be porous so they would be lighter for flight. You have to understand that that didn't happen simply by itself. It happened, i.e., through evolution. What is evolution? It's another word for God. It's not that it's either evolution or God. It's evolution is God.
Savage.
We are devolving here on the Savage Nation. I knew this would come at the end of the year. I knew that God had a special plan for me. And now I have to deal with these people. But okay, turn it off. In a 2001 Gallup poll, 45% of U.S. adults said they believe evolution has played no role in shaping humans. I guess those are the people who voted for Bush and the neoconservative view of Iraq. According to the creationist view, God produced humans fully formed with no previous related species. Now, I happen to believe that evolution is God's tool. I'm in good company because Albert Einstein said the following. Einstein said, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind." Now, I hope you people who are religious will take the blinders off and try to understand that you don't have to reject science to accept God. So, where I begin is at the beginning. And let us begin at the beginning. What if evolution is God's tool? Darwin never said anything about God. Darwin didn't create his theory of evolution and say, therefore, God doesn't exist. Darwin never mentioned God in any of his writings. I believe it's perfectly logical to think that a divine being used evolution to create the world. You see? Now, I understand that the Bible in Genesis says that God created heaven and the earth and the species on it in 6 days. How then do you accord such a view with the fact that scientific evidence shows that the universe was formed about 13.7 billion years ago, while the earth was formed around 4.5 billion years ago, and that the first humans date back only 100,000 years or so? You got to understand that the Bible, whether it be the Christian Bible, the New Testament, the Quran, or the original Testament called the Old Testament by Christians, called the Torah by the Jews, the Bible dates back 5,000 years of recorded history, roughly, almost 6,000 years now. So why is it so hard to comprehend that prior to God's giving us the Bible, God giving us his word, as it were, on Mount Sinai, why is it so hard to comprehend that before that, God was experimenting with his newly created planet called Earth? That perhaps he had tried life forms on other planets, they didn't work out. Maybe he didn't like what was going on in other galaxies, in other universes. Maybe he didn't like the way life worked out elsewhere, and he said, you know what, I'm going to really get it right this time. So then he tried one form of human, the Neanderthal. See, I should have shut my email up. One form of life. He tried another form of life, and none of them were quite right. And then finally got it right with Homo sapiens. What is wrong with that? Why are you people so locked into this, I don't know how to put it, this kind of uneducated, anti-scientific view of the world? Why must you live in such a dark world? That's putting not only blinders on yourself. What you're doing to yourself is you're putting yourself into a mental burqa. You can criticize the Muslims all you want for putting their women in burqas, but you're no different. If you're rejecting science in order to believe in God, A, it shows you're a very insecure person and you have no real faith in yourself nor in God. That's my opinion. Number two, if you're going to continue on this unwashed, unenlightened view of God, what you're really doing is turning the clock back a very, very long way.